I'm not in time intimacy very well yet. I'm not
We're
one.
getting there.
Oh, it's always a process, but to be
But
time in, to be time intimate is to respect the boundary that I have time for myself and time with myself and God,
well, we're
and I
kind
have
of
time for
missing, yeah.
myself with the family, and then I have time to do the work.
We all want that.
And it's a
Oh,
balance, and that we have to train ourselves to realize and respect that boundary and be able to magnify time in
that
such a
is
way that
true.
we get a lot more accomplished in less time. So it's an art. It really is a study and it's a practice to understand.
That it is. That it is. It came up and said it was recording, but I
I
don't see
think I'm
us.
pretty sure we're live, but
I don't
today,
see us. That's why I'm looking. So if we're live out there, chime in, please. So we'll kick
I
this off.
am looking to find if we are, and I'm pretty sure we are.
Yeah, it's not popping up. That's why
Yes, we are. Yeah,
okay, there we go.
I
There we
just
go.
scratched my head, so that's
There
proof
we
that we're
go.
live.
We're okay, yeah, so it just kicked over. Okay, well, welcome back everyone to Mindful Nuggets. We were in conversation about time intimacy, which we spoke about last week,
We
right? With
did.
Mr.
Yeah,
Henry
absolutely.
Garcia.
Mhm.
So if you did not catch that episode, we would highly encourage you, number one, to subscribe. Number two, go check out Henry and William and I's conversation from last week on the podcast here at Mindful Nugget. So we appreciate you being here. And William, as we said before we found out we were live, it's Monday again.
I know. Just shocking. That's what we were talking about, time intimacy. It's like if you cannot have time intimacy when it's Monday and then you blink, it's Monday again. So what happened in between the gap? I don't know. Other than there was a lot of intensity feeling that, and
Yeah.
where is the point that we can slow down and say, I appreciate having this moment, and I am present for this moment, and I can be close to my Creator, my Savior, my Redeemer during this moment, which I do. It's a compression. It's almost like a time compression, and we
Yeah.
get we get caught up into that loop, and we forget to take a breath on it. So this is one thing we're going to talk about tonight. Is we were trained to do before we were ever taught to be, and that's pretty much what we just said is doing,
Well,
and
we're
we're
always
doing so
doing,
much,
right? We're always
and
doing, doing, doing.
yeah, well, and we're taught to do
We are
very
taught to
rare.
do.
Yeah, we're very rarely taught to be. In fact, what does it mean to be?
Great question for everybody out there tonight.
Mhm.
What does it mean to be, right? We're going to talk about
Yeah,
it though. We're going to dive into it because this was something I had a really hard time with, in the conversations that we had a couple of years ago. Um, you're always doing, don't you hear? You're always doing. Our coaches would be like, "You're always doing. Aren't you
you're in the
hearing what you're saying?"
mechanics.
Right. You're in
You're
the
in the mechanic.
mechanics of it, or you're
Yeah.
diving too deep into it. You're thinking too much about it.
Well, that's
What's
a lot of
be?
it too, but it's just because we're never getting to the point where we're creating. We're taught to do. We're in the endless cycles. That's why the modern life today, so many people are burnt out. I mean, they're exhausted, they're
Oh,
drained
absolutely.
spiritually, physically, mentally, and even though you may have success in the world's vision of wealth, which is good that you can have that, but what's it costing you? And is it costing your soul? Is it costing your peace and joy? And is it just when you accumulate things, they require stewardship and taken care of, and it takes energy.
Yeah, it
Um,
does. Yes, it
a lot
does.
more energy than just having very little and walking your path of God. But both ways have advantages. But for the most part, where we misalign, the biggest misalignment here is we're doing without being first. In order to
Hmm.
be, you need to be able to understand that you're created to be. That's why you call it human beings in the first place, not
Did you
human
catch that?
doers.
Human beings.
Yeah.
Human beings. That was something that we talked about a lot as well, about being a human being. And that was something, it just never really resonated with me. It was almost like there was this wall that I just could not get around for the longest time. And then it dawned on me one day, oh my gosh, I really have worn this mask for so long. I don't even know who I am.
Most
Like,
time
who am I being at this point? Yeah, so
right.
I hope this is a reality check for some people tonight.
Well, I mean, you get a job and they tell you what to do. They don't tell you how to be. Sometimes, hopefully, they do tell you how to be because some people, need to learn how to be in a good way.
But in
But
the reality of the world, though, you do not
you're
get
taught to do a job
right.
and you're
You're
trained to do a job
you come
and
in
you
at a
have a
certain time.
responsibility in that
You
job.
yeah, absolutely. You're told this is how you'll do this. This is when you'll take your break. This is when you'll go to lunch. I mean, you couldn't be any more dictated than,
Well, that factory workers back in the 1800s are that way.
yeah,
A lot of these systems, that's what I want people to realize. A lot of these systems were passed down over generations from
absolutely.
1850. When we hit the industrial age, we had a lot of workers laying factories, railroads, utilities, things. I mean, there's a big shift. And the only way to be able to get reliability on that is create a system. And the system was to create obedience and not speak up and you show up. And if you show up, don't show up, then you get penalized.
Okay, so hold on a minute,
Mhm.
because you're a great historian.
I don't know about great, but
So let's talk about you said back in the 1800s. So I learned something today. I don't know if I'm gonna remember it all, but I'm gonna try here really quickly. When did when did it actually come into play that we created a 40-hour work week? When was that and what president did that?
I don't know the trivia of that. But there was the reason why that came about was because we were overworking the workers and extracting too much from the workers, and we were killing the workers. So that was not a good model. So probably a union showed up at that point or some negotiations. So I don't know that, Michelle. I really don't. But
No, that's you're on the right track.
yeah,
A
but
group
I
showed
know
up
I
and said,
understand.
hey,
It was a protection of the workers, and it was instituted that you'd work for 40 hours a week and for a certain pay.
but I
But
guarantee you very few people will know when that actually took place and what president
I'm
that was
sure,
under. So
well,
yeah.
since you know the answer, when was it?
I forgot the president. I said I can't remember it all, but I'm just saying I was told today it was in the early 1900s that they
It,
came
yeah,
up
it was right
and
because I mean you had sweatshops.
right, you
Basically, it
did.
was
Yeah.
slavery. It was slavery work,
Right.
and you're paid just enough to keep alive as long
But
as you
they
didn't
didn't
go in
work
debt.
7 days a week because Sunday was always the Sabbath, but they did work 6 days a week.
Yeah. Well,
And you worked from whatever time you were told to be there to whatever time you were told to go home, and you were paid pennies.
yeah, of course.
But people
That's the way
forget.
that's the way you separate, keep the people poor, and while the entrepreneurs and business builders collect all the wealth.
Yeah,
There's a middle class
yeah,
didn't come along for quite a while. That's until we started getting blue collar, white collar workers, and we had more education, and that's when the colleges really were good back then because they gave you a way to step out of that hard work into something that would be paid more because you were valued more for your knowledge and your application of that knowledge.
yeah,
And today, that model doesn't really exist. We still have work, but we have an education system primarily that's teaching you certain things. I mean, except for like doctors, lawyers, engineers, things that require a
educate. Yeah,
practice, a study of,
right.
and a discipline of. All right. So those are still needed. There's nothing wrong with that, too. Um, but you got to realize where you're at with all this. So if you're in this education system, it's producing outcomes that are not in a world that exists anymore. And that's why
Mhm.
you got so many college graduates are working at secretary level jobs because they can't find the job. And with
Yeah,
AI coming into place, a lot of those menial tasks are done. Now
yep.
this is great. This is a great part to let's paint the system and
I was
let's
gonna say,
look at the
yeah,
solution.
let's paint the system here. I want to do
Uh,
this. So,
because if you'll notice that when we were talking about if you didn't show up to work, what happens? You get docked, you
all
get
right,
penalized,
you
you
either
get a
get
note.
pointed or you lose
Okay.
pay, of course, things like that. So,
Okay. Well, that's a performance based system. Is if you look at it from an algorithm standpoint, you start at 100%, but every time a mistake's made, you go down percentage, you go down
right.
percentage. And all of a sudden, you get into the human resource department and you're doing this, this, and this, and this. Okay. Rarely do we find out what was causing that before we punish that. And
We
that's
don't
the way
ask
it's,
those questions.
no,
There's no asking those questions in today's
no,
workforce.
because
They don't care.
the system
Right.
expects what was created
Expects.
way back when. Right. And
Expects.
that's
Right.
everything, banking system, any system, healthcare system, all these systems are one overall arch that is causing you to perform. And when you
Because that's the way we've
agree,
always done it.
and what happens is you agree to trade that money, your life, in a sense,
Mhm.
for a dollar. You negotiate it and give it away that time.
Yep.
And the great thing about it is, at least you got some cash flow. But the downside about that is you hadn't created anything to replace that in case that thing goes away, and which there's a lot of jobs going away because of AI. You're
Gonna
not
see more of
overcome. You're
those
not
going away.
right, and you become almost well. You are becoming conditioned to accept and settle for this is the way it is.
Hmm. Boy, that was a
And
conversation we had today too. With I had someone with earlier being conditioned to accept, just accept it. The question that was brought forward was, what's going on with the Gen Xers? I'll just tell you what the conversation was. Why are Gen Xers not stepping up to the plate to be a president? Where's all the Gen Xers at? Now, of course, my simple answer was we checked out. That's my simple answer. We checked out.
we checked out. Yeah.
I
Well,
mean, I'm a Gen Xer, right? Or so my children tell me. Um, they
I'm
remind me
definitely
anyway.
one. I was
But
one
the
of the first
bottom
ones.
line is that we weren't raised, and you weren't either. I mean, your parents, my parents were in the hippie era. There's that. Um, they were the people who, did all the protesting, things like that. And I think that we just decided that that wasn't going to be who we were because we weren't raised that way. I mean, our parents came along and said, okay, this is no longer acceptable in society. Let's not behave this way. This is how you're really supposed to do life.
Something broke around the Vietnam War
Oh,
period. It really
absolutely.
got messed up. I mean, it was already started, but it came to a head during that war, and there was a big division
Absolutely.
about the mindset and why we were there and why we were treating our soldiers that way. And a lot of the soldiers, I remember, I'm old enough now to watch them get off the aircraft coming out. They got spit on, they had things thrown at them. I mean, it's
Yeah.
highly disrespectful because
Yeah.
we're over to killing on a perception in the leadership perception. This is one of the things that we got to understand in systems. When
Right.
you're trained in a system, your perception is of that system,
Mm-hmm.
and nothing outside of that exists until you start becoming aware of other systems and how they interplay. And then you start asking why, and you get curious about why that. And for me, I get to see how they interact, and then I start realizing that I don't want to be part of that system. I have to live in that system to some extent, but I do not want to be droned into that system because I know
Right.
it'll break you, and
Okay,
it
you said
has.
something really interesting. And do you think that many of our generation, our Gen X generation, do you believe that we're tired of the system, but we're
Well,
just not willing
trust
to, but we're
trust was
right.
broken.
Trust is broken. That's right. So now that that trust has been broken out of that system, where do you think we in our generation fit into this now? I mean, you're seeing a lot of our age group come out in entrepreneurship. They've realized that 401k isn't going to take them to
Right,
their retirement. They're going to
we're
be
catching up.
working.
We're
Right.
catching up to the fact that we were told something that we had an expectation to exist when we got to this point. It's not enough.
Hmm.
It's not what we thought it was going. It wasn't promised in
Right.
a sense the way we expected it to happen. I mean, pensions
I
went.
can tell you the way it was explained is not the way it's playing out.
No, no, it's definitely we were guinea pigs basically for a lot of different things, including health and controls. And I mean, we really were guinea pigs.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah, we
different
were
things.
on
But
so many
uh,
levels.
well, the thing about it is, if the government's running to do whatever it wants to do, and it has big control over everything, is we forget our roots. I mean, why did we come over here in the first place, and who were we, and what were we
Hmm.
being in the first place? Now
Let's go that route. Who were we being whenever we came over
we
here?
were being free. We were believed in God, and we put all our trust into God. And a lot of people died to get here to have this freedom.
That's
on it. Now,
true, but we also
there's
took over a land that wasn't ours.
that's right. We did, and we did do that, and we desecrated the Indians and really gave them scraps afterwards and say, "Here you go." And that
Yeah,
was not right either. But the thing is, we still have a constitution. This is where I was going, and that
right.
constitution was spirit created, given a matrix of design for freedom, and
That's the
yet
whole basis of what we are here for. I mean, we're coming into July 4th. This is a perfect episode for this, guys. So take a moment while you're here, hit that subscribe button, share this podcast out, let people know. But we're going to talk even deeper about this. So it is July 4th weekend, okay? And let's continue this conversation because that's what we built this country on was faith. Every bit about faith, which is what we talk about here.
it was fully interested in God. I mean, Plymouth Rock in the neighborhood exists a statue with all the balance of freedom in the recipe to have freedom, and yet it's surrounded by neighborhoods. But it had the one pointing up to God. It had Star of David on it, and then it had all the justice, the grace, everything about freedom was given to us by God. And it was built in the 1800s as a statue to represent what freedom stands for. And yet we put it in neighborhoods and keep it off away because we don't want, there's a lot of people who don't want you free. And this is what really matters the most. When you're suppressed and you're going through a system, the idea is to keep you from being, because then you become a problem. Become starts with B as well, BE.
So we have a comment at the leader of you leading beyond. Here's what they say. I do think that many 50 and 60-year-old Americans have a bad taste left in their mouth from the system that has been in place.
Yeah, we've been sucker punched, and we know it. And now what are we going to do about it? This next thing, that's just part of being too, because we have a responsibility, accountability to stand up.
Every single one of us do.
We do, but
So
we're the
the
ones that
question
let it
is, when are
drift,
we going to do that?
right? Well,
When are we going to
that
be and not
requires
be doers?
for us to understand we need to be who we are first and not somebody else.
Right.
We need to be integrity with ourselves before we can be integrity with anybody else. We got to be able to stand when things are right, even though it doesn't feel good. And sometimes it even hurts. Sometimes it seems pretty sacrificial.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's what our forefathers did.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they
Okay.
had a lot of fights during the time. But one thing they agreed on, it was for we the people. And they put that first. They put God first, we the people.
It's
I don't
always
see,
been that way.
see, this is the big separation.
I
It's
don't see
become
that
I.
now, but I
It's
saw that
become
then.
I
Right.
am, and I'm the ruler of mine, and I'm on all.
Right. Right. Yeah.
And
Okay, so we
I
have
have,
another comment.
uh,
The leader of you leading beyond, I fully believe, need a resurgence of God-fearing men and women in leadership.
and
100%.
in fact, I see that now because I see God awakening his people.
Oh, I do see that.
Yeah.
I mean, you and I've talked about this about how,
Mhm.
people who were in our life 2 years ago and many people are not because we've come together and we see the spiritual warfare that's going on right now and more God-fearing people are coming together and are having these conversations, which is one of the reasons why we are here. We wanted to have these conversations. We want to bring this conversation to the table and bring that leadership that we carry.
The big question is, what are you creating in your life? If we're always doing, what are you creating? Because you can't create and do. If you do, you can't create without some sort of vision, some sort of idea what your purpose is on this earth.
All right,
And
you're going to get
everyone does.
everybody confused. So let's go back.
Mm-hmm.
Creating and doing, being and doing.
They're totally opposite of the side of the equation. Doing is just being told what to do and you go do it, or just busyness doing. But there's no
Busyness
fruit.
doing. There you go.
There's
There's a
there's
lot
no
of
there's
that.
no fruit. There's no fruit from that. And that's what I'm saying. A father feels guilty sitting down with his family because he's conditioned to always be busy,
Mm.
always doing something. He's bringing work home. Same with the mother. He's got kids to take care of. The father's got kids to take care of. They got dinner. By the time they get all done, they're collapsed. And hey, rinse and repeat. Let's get up and do it again. And then
Right.
they'll get a brief moment over the weekend. And where's that going? Is it has to be over your business, over your work, or you still? Where do you stop and just say, "I'm enough. I'm worthy. I have a father that loves me, and I can be the son and daughter of that father. I don't have to carry all this responsibility. What I do need to do is be in presence of him." That's where being starts.
It's exactly where being starts.
Because you
Everybody's
were created
asking.
as a being, and
Right.
you were created in his image and his authority and his power, his light, all of that. And we forget all that. It's been drifted out of us, and we've gone so far, then it's diluted to where we don't recognize we have all the enabling act or the authority that God gives us through his word is what I'm trying to say. The ability to stand and say, I am, and your name and I am is a reflection of God because he created you in the first place. You're acknowledging the Father when you say I am. And so when I say I'm William, and if you break William down, I'm the will of God. Will I am. So I am will. And so I'm recognized that God created me. I am his son, and I'm created by his will. And when that happens is since I am part of him and I've accepted him into my life, I'm his son. Because I'm a son, I'm an heir to the kingdom. And he has plans for me. And if when my father here on this earth had me, he had things that he wanted me to share with me, be with me, do things together, and create things that we could have an experience of life that we got to enjoy. And this is what's missing is joy and peace.
Oh, we're definitely missing joy
And
and
we're
peace.
giving it away because we're doing so much. We're not creating any space to have any joy or peace. We're not stopping to say, I am, and I have the right to stop and say, I exist in this world for a purpose. I am a light and I can impact people for good. I can create things from what God provided all around me. And you're meant to
Okay, so are
create.
you coming from a point of view that people are not in the gratitude that they need to be in? Because that's
It's
what
more
I'm
than just,
hearing.
it's just gratitude separates the negative bias in a positive bias mind.
Right.
Okay, so we start learning to be grateful. That's one element of it. But when you're coming out of scarcity, which a lot of us are in survival mode, where do you get the oxygen to stop and say, well, I feel safe enough to create, be who I am instead of what somebody else wants me to be? Because I'm at threat level. If I become me, they might not like me, and then I'm no longer going to be employed or something's going to happen to where I'm not going to be able to exist.
But that's a constant worry today with people. They're emotionally drained, they're mentally drained, they're physically drained. I mean, they're not capable of really taking that moment to stop and say, I am, and put this all into perspective. They don't even know where to begin. They don't even understand the point of where they're not being. They're just doing
Remember
because we're
that
so conditioned.
you've been taught this system. It's ingrained in your nervous system. It's ingrained in your mind, and you're performing. Then you use the word performing because you have to put on a mask because you. This is what you have to do. And a lot of times we sacrifice our loved ones, friends, even our own lives, just
Oh,
because we were taught
absolutely.
this is the way we had to be is to do, and that's not right. The alignment process, according to Romans, is do not be conformed to this world, and that because this world is a system that will drain you, it will suck you dry. If you haven't realized that, you need to unplug for a second. This is what be who you are from it, and then ask Him about that and talk to Him. But it's to be the renewing of your mind. Because if you're indoctrined to be this person over here doing all the time, that's what you're going to continually do until you understand I can be, not do all the time. I can have peace. I can have joy in my life. I can have freedom.
Okay, so we have another comment from the leader
Mhm.
of you, Leading Beyond. I
Mhm.
think that people have been shoved in the corner and quieted and made to stop questioning. That is so spot on because that's exactly what's going on.
Well, that's the 1850s again. It was a Prussian military model for education and jobs. All that came about is to suppress people. You were to be obedient, and if you spoke up, you were a problem. And that what that does is it squashes creativity, it squashes visions. Visions go and die because they
But
can't be
isn't that what we're
expressed.
seeing today?
Nothing's
We went
changed.
through that once before, right at
No,
the
we we
Vietnam era. We went through that. They
we've
wanted they
lived
wanted
through it
everybody to
a long
stop and
time.
be quiet. That's what they wanted.
We have
Okay.
lived through that many eons through
But we're back
kingdom
at
and
this again. We want
well, there's
people to
there's
be
no
under
human that
control.
there's no behavior uncommon to man. So that's why I'm getting that system. The system of this world is to perform and to take.
Right, right.
It has not changed. Even in days in Egypt when they were slaves, the Israelites were enslaved. Even before then, you were expected to go out and perform for your kingdom or perform for whoever had control.
Yeah. Hence why Moses took his people out.
Well, God doesn't want you to be that way. That's the thing, because God does not operate that way. If you
Right.
look at it from a systems level, God's system is to give in order to receive. Well, it takes a different heart to give versus a heart to take, does it not?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so you got two operating systems, except you got to exist in the world because you were born into it. Okay, this is why that verse is so important. It's not to be conformed to the world because if you let it, it's going to take from you. And you're not going to live a life that you were meant to live.
Mm,
But
mm,
be
mm, mm.
transformed by the renewing of the mind. Okay, the renewing of the mind. Why is that important? Not the renewing of the heart, but renewing of the mind. Because over time, when you keep taking those small daily doses of reading the word, listening to something, learning a new skill set, doing all these different things on a daily basis, guess what? It compounds. Your internal belief system starts to shift because what you believed was true is no longer true anymore, just like we just talked about.
But there's a word conversation that goes with that as well. There's a word association that goes with that. You know, you change that mindset, you also are going to change those words that come
It
out of your
starts,
mouth.
yeah, it starts by renewing the mind. Well, how do you
Right.
renew the mind?
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay. So when you renew the mind, well, it's shifted, it's small shifts. Every time it's a small shift. Well, what you gonna put into the word? Word created everything in this universe, including us. The word being Christ. Truth is Christ. So what you if you don't be aligned with him, I hope you are, then what do you introduce? The truth into a system that's only partial true or false. But is
Well,
when
that's
we
what we
start
discussed with Henry last week
yeah,
was, understanding the words that carry power in a person's life, right?
the words is the programming of the mind as you speak it. It reinforces. We seek evidence to prove ourselves true in what we believe. The word programs that because the subconscious doesn't know the difference if it's true or not, but it believes what you're speaking. And so if we make that shift, if we're renewing the mind, that means we're getting information in. Okay, so we're bringing the information in. And then we're starting to speak that. Well, read this verse. Okay, so I want you to do something into my. I want to renew my mind right now, and it needs to be done daily, and not to be conformed to this world. Stop. This what does that mean? Not to be conformed to the world. What are the world's ways? Well, look at identity of how am I? How do I feel? Can I actually ask myself, do I have any peace in what I'm experiencing right now? Am I happy? I know if you get true peace from God, then your next thing you don't have is joy in your life, no matter what's going on in the world. Okay, so the world may be traumatic, which it is, bombarded by negativity because it wants you to be in the system.
Yeah, it
God's
wants
word's
to
on
keep
take.
you in the system.
Well, it wants to keep you, like you said, in the corner,
Right.
and
Okay,
they want you to conform to form.
we have a comment. So at the Leader of You Leading Beyond, we are seeing the effects of renewing homesteading, homeschooling,
Yes, we
and
are.
training up in your beliefs.
Michelle, you're doing holistic healing. You're
Yep.
doing you're growing a garden. You're unplugging from the world
Oh, absolutely.
because you realize it's poisoning you.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
But it's
mean,
taken me 50 how many years to do that, you know?
it's okay. Well, see that you just asked that question earlier of why 50, 60, 70-year olds are kind of like, yeah, we're done with this circus show
Well,
is
I mean,
basically what it
you and
is.
I've talked about this before, you and I both. I've been so ingrained with, the medical system, right? Everybody, we should believe the doctors. We should, put our trust and faith in the doctors. We should put our trust and faith in science. I mean, my own
Great point.
husband's come
Great.
back and said, I'd like to know that science actually has some, validity behind it, and our government wouldn't do that. That's what he said.
Okay, right there. That's an excellent point. That's a belief system
Hmm.
that you have been
Absolutely.
so ingrained that the doctors know what they're doing because they went to school.
They know.
Okay, well, does that thought stop right there? How are they taught? Who's teaching them? What inputs are they getting in order for the output?
Right.
Pharmaceuticals have gone from 10% back in the early 1900s to 90% of driving the train.
They drive the
And then you
train.
got the insurance right behind it
Yep.
saying, this is what I'm going to pay for, was this what I'm going to allow? And if it doesn't align with the pharmaceuticals, a lot of times they don't pay. And
Hmm.
the doctors are in the middle saying, this is supposed to work for you because that's the way they've been taught. This has to work, but they didn't give anything out of the box. It's like any other human being. If you're not aware of a system, you not don't believe in that system because you don't know it exists.
Right. Right.
And now, from the beginning, we've had a garden. We've
Isn't that
worked the
what we
garden.
were developed from, was the garden?
So, and
Dang.
God knows what He's doing because all these medicines derivatives are from what He created anyway. But I
Yeah.
can tell you, his doesn't have all the side effects, and we don't have the commercials going through like 100 different bad things and put pretty pictures of enjoying life. That's wrong on so many levels. That's not even funny. But God has something that you can grow, something you can attain. If you don't have it, you can go to a neighbor who has it or is growing it, a farmer.
Right.
We were meant to be together and help each other
Yep.
and
We were meant
and
to be a
work in an
community. Yeah.
ecosystem that
Yeah.
was aligned by God in the first place. And we
Right.
drifted so far. This is the result of the drift.
Yeah, we are definitely in the drift, that's for sure. So
Well, it's put so much stress on people and systems. Things break, and they're breaking.
they do
And we're
break.
we're
They
we're
are
living
breaking.
through that
Right.
right now where it's breaking.
Yeah.
And so what do we do? Well, I tell you what we do. You every one of us need to align with God and believe in
Hmm.
Him and start renewing the mind daily with the truth. What happens is it starts shifting you back closer to God. It brings you back closer, draw to Him, and He'll draw to you. And when that
Absolutely
happens,
true.
what happens is your house starts getting cleaned up. You start becoming the person that you were meant to be, created in His vision for the purpose He gave to you, your assignment. Once you start understanding your assignment that He has you to carry, it was a light burden because you enjoy it. All those
Mhm.
things are alignment issues that we don't realize. And once we come away from those, we're in resistance. We're in resistance. Well, guess what? Take a piece of sandpaper and start sanding your hand with it. It hurts instead of putting lotion on it or olive oil and polyphenols, like we talked about, is a very important engine oil for a human being.
We have
Omega
spoken about
levels
that.
in omega threes,
Yep.
that give fatty acids that your brain burns 60% of. And there's a lot of things that taking care of your temple, well, you take care of the temple, you honor God. Well, your temple is able to withstand a lot of things that you can't now because the food's horrible.
Uh-huh.
There's no nutrition in it, and it's genetically altered. A lot of it is. I can't already tell what's real and what's fake anymore.
That's you're not the only one having that conversation, right? I've had that all day today. So we have another couple of comments. So again, the leader of you, leading beyond, seek the Lord first, and then He orders your days and provides your needs. That is absolutely correct.
Well, He sets your path straight. He's a light to your path. He's a protector. He's a shield. He's your provision. He's
Yeah.
everything. Well, if he created you and he's the father, don't you think he's going to take care of you, feed you, do things?
Why
We
would he
can't trust.
not?
Well,
Because he has thus far, and you're just not paying attention. You're
well, it's
not
because we
paying
don't we
attention
don't
to
we
where
don't
you're
trust
at.
that because we're back into the words that we speak reaffirm the way we believe, and what we
Exactly.
put in, we're not renewing in us it with the truth. And so if we're not doing that, we don't know God's word. We're not in his authority. We're not under his protection. We're not under his provision because we're out somewhere out in the universe away from him. And you can see what happened when we pulled away from him. We've lived long enough to
I say he's
see,
let us go with enough rope long enough
to
that
choke
now
yourself.
we
And
we
he'll
are
let
in
you
the
do
check
that.
system. That's right, checking it now. So he's letting us
So,
know.
yeah. So, you're go back to conditioning that we're trained to do. Well, what's the urgency? I get up and check my emails in the morning, check my emails at night. I pick up the phone during dinner because somebody calls and I deem it. They're more important than just family time dinner. All right, they have to be addressed.
Oh, you
So
mean you're not sitting
everybody,
at the table watching TikTok?
no, but see, I just left my phone at church all day, and I've done that 3 times now. Well, guess what? I didn't have a panic attack.
That's a good
I,
thing because I know people who would really scrounge and really fret and have people calling it and
well,
putting it on a finder to go get it, you know.
because I protect my peace, and that's
Hmm.
not peaceful. When
You said it, you protect your peace. That's the problem is people are not protecting their peace. They're not seeing what they should be seeing. They're so distracted.
Well, another one is you work for 40 years, and when you retire, you don't know your wife, you don't know who you are, you don't know what to do next. You're lost.
I was talking
The,
with a gentleman today who said that one of the individuals for this company in particular we were talking about came back and said, I don't want to be that dad that my kid looks at the picture frame and says, yeah, that's my dad, but he's never home. But that's my dad.
yeah,
And
because
that's where we
his
are.
role was not being the dad. His role was to perform,
Hmm.
and his role is not his true identity. It's a role.
That's the world's identity. Absolutely.
It's
Absolutely.
like, so when you ask who are you, you got to think about that. Well, I'm a dad. I'm a mother. I'm an engineer.
No, first,
I'm
I'm a
a
child of God.
repairman.
That's what I am first.
Well,
I'm his daughter.
that's you. Yeah. Well, I am.
Then I am the wife, then I am the daughter, then I am
Well,
the
even though,
sister.
I mean, I am a loving, caring individual who stands for, that's the start, the beginning of a true identity. What are your values? What do you, what, what do you really, what really lights up your life? What makes you happy? All those things we get put on a shelf for so long, we've lost them.
And
And
that's
so
exactly what's happened.
when we're asked, most of the time, what do you do?
Hmm. What do? I turn right back to God and I go right into prayer and speaking to him. That's what I do
Well,
because that's
I
where I
mean,
find my answers. That's where I find peace.
that's where
That's
you find it. But when you're asked, what do you do? It's like you're in social conversation. What do you do? Because that's the way we've been trained to ask. What do you
right,
do? Not,
right.
who are you? What do you like? Well, we don't go and say, what's your identity? No,
I usually ask
probably,
people, what do you contribute to society?
well, that's true. What fruits do you bear?
What fruits do you bear?
So, but things like that. But I mean, yeah, how, instead of say, how are
Yeah, I
you?
guess I could say, who do you serve? I'm just,
But I'm an enthusiastic, creative person that likes to design things and have a way to lead people to Christ and let them experience a true life, an abundant life, and find out who they are.
right,
Because we see, the thing is, when we renew our mind, we're starting to tie back into the identity of who God created us to be. So we know we're a child of God. We know we're heir to the kingdom. We know that we have a purpose on this planet, and He has an assignment for us to carry out. And I'm, like I said, I'm a very creative, freedom. loving person who likes to fly. People don't express that. I'm creating something big. I'm having fun. It's always, what do you do? What do you do? Well, I'm an engineer.
All
Oh,
right,
that's good.
so many folks don't feel confident in their Heavenly Father, which is very true. To say my children come first, I can't stay at work indefinitely. And that happened. Me being a nurse for
Mhm.
36 years now and 20 some of those years being on the floor,
The,
I was
the
constantly
identity.
in demand. Oh well, I know you're off today, but I really, need you to come in today and we'll give you
Okay,
another day off.
great.
And that never happens, or
Another good example. You were trained in the identity to perform, and that was a false perception of it made you feel good because you were contributing to society.
exactly. And that's where your job,
That's where they hook you.
it is where they hook you, absolutely. And it's not just in my job, as a nurse, but let's look at my husband who works for, the automobile industry. They'll call him, well, not now, but before all this was really starting to go where it's going. Um, the situation was is that, hey, we've got overtime available and we know you can produce X amount, so we need you on the line. Could you do an extra 4 more hours? It was just always that conversation. I mean, that's not now. Unfortunately, the car industry is really starting to come down, but he feels compelled, right? I mean, you stroke that ego, and guess what? The system brings you right back in
To perform more and to give
to
more away
perform
of your
more.
life.
Absolutely. Take
Okay,
you
but
away
there's
from your
no
family, take you away from a birthday party, or take you away from Christmas. I mean,
right. Well, it makes you feel like you're worth
right.
something.
And that's
And
what
that's
people need
not
to
where you get your
realize
worth.
is
That's not what you
exactly
get your worth from.
right.
Yeah, that's always something to bait and hook you, draw you in. And society goes around, they shame you. You work off fear systems,
Yeah.
rejection,
Rejection.
criticism,
Yeah.
comparison, and then any type of pressure to, man, you're the only one who can do this. We're
Right.
depending on you. But
Yep.
what if I broke my leg tomorrow? I'm not gonna be here. Guess
But
what?
you are
You'll find
replaceable.
somebody else. You'll
You're
find somebody
replaceable.
else.
You would figure it out. Your
Yeah,
company will
but
figure it
in in
out.
the in
You're
the moment, in that moment, that's what I'm saying. You're drawn
in
in
that
and hooked
moment. Yeah.
into.
You're the only one that they can count
So you're
on.
the champion of the day. Go get
Right.
them.
So most
While
people
you're
shove
burning
down
up your
their
time.
identity. This is what our comment is. Most people shove down their identity, their true self, where they get joy, peace, and happiness and blessed others with their presence.
Let me ask you something. How hard did
Mhm.
Jesus work? How how often did you see
As
him
much as I've
doing a
read the
lot?
Bible, I haven't heard Jesus working very hard. He walked and spoke and gathered, and my interpretation is he was very much at peace no matter where he was. He still found joy no matter where he was. He was always in self-control, and he always had a ton of patience to
Hmm,
sit and have those conversations.
interesting. So he was actually being
Right, he
what?
was being.
He was being a mentor, a leader, a guide, a light, a love, a hope,
Hmm. Yeah.
being all those that I hope that makes it very clear what being is. You're being something that you're created to be. Hope, giving life, presence, understanding, all those things.
Yeah, I mean, you even said put on here for tonight, Matthew 11:30, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light.
Jesus rested a lot. He
Yeah,
prayed
he
a lot.
did.
He was
Yeah.
in line a lot. He was obedient without a fault. Not thy will, but my Father's.
He was a
And
living
that was
example, absolutely.
is a living example for us how to exist.
Yeah.
We only have so much bandwidth. We do not know how we impact other people or what God's purpose is for those other people. So when we start playing I in the throne, being God of ourselves, then we're actually doing a lot more damage than we realize
Yeah.
because we just can't understand what God has planned, what he wants. But however, all things will work to his good, or all things will work to the good for those who love him and called to his purpose, i.e., called to his purpose. When you call to his purpose, you may not see the good, but you can guarantee it will be good. And I've experienced
Hmm.
that myself many times. things I've done blundered up, made some major mistakes, but it still worked out to the good. Where many people in the separation years, a lot of people fret, anxious, it's good going to come out this, worry, fear, and then it burns up a lot of energy and burns up a lot of their life. But when I mess up, not intentionally, not trying to, but it does happen, then I know it's going to work out good because God will straighten it out. And it was meant to happen in the first place, and I get to trust in that. And because I can trust in that, then I don't have that anxiety, I don't have that fear and regret and all those things going on in my spirit. Because of that, I can rest assured and be at peace because it will be handled, and I can admit and say, look, I messed up, and let's get this clear. How do I go about this the right way? And I'll ask them that too. So it becomes a clear identity that he is my dad. I am a son. I know who I am, and I know how I need to be. And it's all given to the word, and I renew my mind daily. I speak the words because in Psalms it tells you the power of life and death is in the power of the tongue and how you speak. And then we just went over that. How we speak is how we live and become what we create in our lives, whether it's good or bad.
All
But
right,
how you
well,
speak is how you believe, and that's what's on your heart. And guess what? You generated it.
yep. All right, so last comment before we wrap up tonight. We don't spend our time wisely because we have lost sight that our time is more valuable than money.
Mm-hmm.
Very true. Very true. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, we have and you know this because we've talked about this before. People chase money, chase the dollar. I need the dollar, right? I need that dollar. I'm the only one that they can count on, but
Okay.
I got to
Well,
show up every day, or
the
I'm not going to be
assurance,
able to pay this or that.
the world system is assurance and money.
Absolutely.
And we've been trained to that.
Absolutely.
You know what our greatest equity is? Our greatest asset is time.
Hmm.
Money can always be made, but the
Money
moments you
can
lose,
always be made.
yeah.
Time
But
you cannot
the
get back.
moments that you have lost by chasing something is really idolatry. When you look at it, if you're chasing something, that's what you desire of the heart, and that's what you just made your God. But do you realize that God made everything? That means He can open favor, or you can't, or never could. Do
He
you
can move
think
the
He saw?
mountains that you can't move.
Well, do you think He can move money around in order just to give
He
you? He
can
said He'll provide all your needs.
He can move the money where but
I mean,
again, you have to ask. You have to
well, you got to
ask.
be in His will too, and that's another
Exactly.
thing about alignment. Because once you start aligning, you start seeing the world through God's eyes, but you're aligning to His will. And when you ask in His will, it's already done.
That's right.
There's difference between doing and done, because it's already done,
Hmm.
folks. And we're
We talked
not.
about that last week too, so
Yeah,
go
we're
check
not.
that out with Henry
We are not.
Garcia. Yeah,
We are not doing to restore ourselves. Is already done. We're already restored with Him through Christ, and we're carrying out the assignments that He has for us with the belief that it's already done, because it is.
well, it is already done. He knows the path. We don't know the path. We have to walk the path.
It is finished. The works are finished.
Right.
And we're not trying to restore anything. We're just being present in the assignment that He has us to carry out in our lives of responsibility.
Yeah. All
And we
right.
get to
Well,
do that.
all right. Well, that was your nugget for tonight, everyone. We went a little over that time frame, so just to
Well, not too bad because we got a late start, folks. And
we did get a
yeah,
late
we
start,
did.
but definitely want to be mindful of your time whenever you're out here with us. And we thank you so much for being with us on YouTube tonight. Please make sure you hit that subscribe button, share our podcast out with everyone. Let them know, what you enjoyed about it. But not only that, please get into the comments and let us know what you enjoy about Mindful Nuggets. We love your feedback and we want your feedback. So, Mr.
Closing
William, wrap us out tonight.
yeah, just get a kind of a reflection for everybody. Has peace ever come from doing? Was it ever found in doing? Or is it found being present? And is it found being present with one that created you Its soul was never designed to sustain itself. The world teaches you self independence. God tells you to be dependent on Him because He'll provide. You quit carrying the mountain on your back, you set it down, and let God deal with the mountain. You don't have that burden anymore. And you start feeling the peace that He's going to give to you because it's not your responsibility. The Lord wants you to have all the responsibility that He can shut down on you. Puts it so much on you, it'll break you. And it doesn't care. God does care. So quit carrying, set the thing down. Be at peace. Understand that. Quit doing. Start being. Thank you for everybody joining tonight. We appreciate you.
Have a great
You
night,
got
everyone.
lots.
We'll see you back next week, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. on the East Coast.
Monday will come very quick.